What's the password?
Rabbit hole.
Ladies, gentlemen, and secret society members, welcome back to the Rabbit Hole Podcast, where we do mediocre research and give our unwanted opinion on a topic that you probably don't care about. This week I'm joined again by my co-hosts, and this week we're going to be covering something we've touched on a little bit before in the past, but we're going to kind of deep dive into more of its offshoots and stuff of that nature. So I'll just go ahead and spill the beans on it, I guess. We're going to kind of go into Bohemian Grove again. And to give a brief overview, if you forgot what that was, Bohemian Grove is a restricted 2,700 acre campground in Monterey, California. It belongs to a private San Francisco-based gentlemen's club known as the Bohemian Club. So, it's a large, like, campground, basically, where people can go. The word on the street is that people can go here and kind of have high-end business meetings, talk about kind of things that they would like to keep secret, business deals, patent ideas, politics, stuff like that. There's a lot of politicians that are known for being a part of the Bohemian Club, such as Ronald Reagan and Richard Nixon, both the George Bushes, as well as many actors in mainly in like the 60s and 70s, 80s kind of era. Clint Eastwood, Robert De Niro, guys like that. So one of the things that Bohemian Grove is actually known for is hosting meetings about the Manhattan Project, which is something that I found out recently. If you don't know what the Manhattan Project is, it was the project that led to the atomic bomb, the creation of the atomic bomb. So the people that led the Manhattan Project, Ernest Lawrence and Robert Oppenheimer, as well as many other nuclear scientists and rocket propulsion scientists and stuff like that, met here to discuss the Manhattan Project, mainly because it's a place where you know that, and we'll get kind of into this more and explain the reasonings behind it, but it's a place that you can go and you can speak out loud things that you would normally have to keep secret, because they kind of have a pact there, and everybody's kind of under the same agreement that what stays in the grove doesn't leave the grove, kind of thing.
Yeah, what's the phrase? The phrase is like something spiders.
Yeah. Hold on, I read that earlier.
Don't weave your webs, or
weaving spiders come not here.
Yeah.
My understanding was, though, they literally blackmailed each other into so basically.
So we'll get into that. Yeah, if you want to go ahead and.
I mean, it just it just basically, it was a way they had to trust each other because they all had dirt on each other. So, I mean, if one was, everybody knew something dirty on everybody else. And in fact, I believe they did things actually in the grove that led to the blackmailing portions of things. Like, they had to do it or else they were out.
Well, it was essentially they had to out themselves, right, to show that they were trustable.
Yeah, they were 110% on board with whatever went on there, no matter what it was.
Right.
So they had to go out and get caught doing something, or like they really wanted to get caught.
Yeah.
Just to prove that, hey, you can trust me.
Isn't just for like these secret business meetings and discussing politics and stuff like that. It's a way for these, because as a higher end person like this, a celebrity or a politician, you kind of have eyes on you at all times. Well, in the Grove, there's no cameras or anything like that allowed. It's all secrecy, and so they're kind of able to exercise their sexual and more deviant fantasies. Kind of is the idea behind it.
With each other.
Well, not just with each other, but with like anybody in general. Like, I mean, that's a Bohemian Grove is a place where you would be allowed to bring your prostitutes and your drugs
And in fact, I
and
think
all
they
that
brought him in
stuff,
by
and
droves.
be able to act freely upon those desires.
Yeah.
But yeah, as you said, one of the things about Bohemian Grove that, because as of now, it kind of sounds like a harmless club. Like, yeah, these people are,
We ain't really scratched the non-harmless things yet.
yeah, well, these people are kind of like, just doing business meetings and having fun and partying kind of thing. You know, it seems relatively harmless. But as you kind of touched on already, the way that they kept the secrecy of this place was by having dirt and blackmail on each other. And I'll get into that. There's another group called Skull and Bones, which I don't know if you guys have ever heard of Skull and Bones, but it's kind of the same
Yeah, we talked a little
setup.
bit about Skull and Bones in a previous episode.
Yeah, back in
Yeah,
back in Cults and Trafficking, it was mentioned a little bit, I believe.
yeah. Skull and Bones is kind of the same thing. It's a little less open to its membership, I believe. Like Bohemian Grove seems to have like all sorts. The Bohemian Club.
You have actors, musicians,
Yeah, they have kind of
political
a wide
figures.
range of people.
Yeah,
Skull and Bones is kind of stuck to um,
The college, right?
the alumni that have attended Yale University.
but now Skull and Bones is in a way. I mean, they're not connected to the Freemasons, but they're kind of the same idea, correct? Or are
They
they?
aren't they're all. Well, I don't know. The Freemasons not necessarily, but I think the Skull and Bones and the Bohemian Grove are loosely connected.
So
I think a lot of these are
connected to one
connected.
another. Let me hop in real
Yeah.
quick before we get too far into the Bohemian Grove, into the meat and potatoes. Let's get a little history. So Bohemian Grove is located in Monterey, California. Okay, the first meeting of the Grove happened in 1872. Where the name Bohemian Grove actually comes from is Bohemian Grove started off as a Catholic gentleman's club. Okay, and their patron saint is Saint John of Nepomuk. St. John of Nepomuk is from Bohemia, which is the Czech Republic, if you're not familiar. That's why it became the Bohemian Grove, because of that connection there. Now, supposedly anybody can join the Grove, but what it costs you is it costs you $25,000 a year in annual dues,
Good.
and the wait list is 14 years long. So the Grove is a lot more inclusive than Skull and Bones, as you're saying, but there's definitely still a lot of things you got to go through to get to it.
Oh yeah, it's definitely got a wall to it.
Yeah. Now, if we
wanna
want
start
here,
a
I have a
cult?
list. I spent the entire hour before this getting a list of people that are in Bohemian Grove,
Like members of it.
members of Bohemian Grove. There's some pretty interesting ones in here from both sides of the political aisle, as well as there's a couple people that have been confirmed there in the town, but have not been confirmed in. Actually, our current president-elect has been to Monterey, California. So there's that. Now, a couple other big members here. David Rockefeller is a big member. Henry Kissinger, Bill Clinton. Of course, we already said both the Bushes. Colin Powell, Newt Gingrich, Walter Cronkite actually will talk about the 40-foot owl, but the 40-foot owl has like a voice box at the bottom of it, and that's their big thing that they pray to, and you see in the pictures. And actually, it uses Walter Cronkite's voice, like they've
Now,
recorded
who
sayings.
was the guy that he? There was actually who was the one that actually built the owl or designed? There was somebody that designed the owl and was also a member of it as well.
And let me go through a few more of these members real quick, because there's
Okay,
some pretty high end people still on this list.
I'll look for
Donald
that when you.
Rumsfeld, Reagan, Nixon, FDR, as in Franklin Delano Roosevelt, Eisenhower, Clint Black, the country singer. It's kind of an oddball one in there. Jack London, Michael Bloomberg, as in former Democratic presidential nominee Michael Bloomberg. Clint Eastwood, and this is my personal favorite here. Someone who has came up in at least 3 of our episodes. Werner von Braun, the head of NASA and a former Nazi SS scientist.
Wow. Wow.
I mentioned Oppenheimer too.
Yeah,
Oppenheimer was also a. No, he wasn't.
Well, the man that designed
that.
the owl.
He was German, but he wasn't.
Yeah, I think he defected prior to.
I think so.
The man
yeah.
that
He was from Germany.
that designed the owl was Haig Patagon, and he was actually the president 2 different times, and it was constructed back in the 1920s. So who did you say the voice was that they used?
Walter Cronkite.
Okay, now we're talking about if we want to discuss the owl. Now I'm not sure if it's the actual statue that they use or if they actually build like an effigy of one, but they also have, which we've not really got into the crazy shit that they do here, but they actually have what they call fake rituals, um, where they burn an effigy of the owl, but they also burn another quote unquote fake body of a child.
Well, so didn't it start out as being just a bundle of sticks that represented the child,
Yeah.
and then it moved to a actual like dummy, basically?
Yeah, and it looked very realistic. Um, but what they are supposedly worshiping whenever they are burning the owl now is the figure Moloch. And Moloch is actually a biblical figure. In fact, it's mentioned in the Bible. I mean, multiple times, I believe. But it's actually a Canaanite god associated with child sacrifice. So, if we want to get if we kind of want to get into the dark stuff they do, I feel like we should start here because to me this is the weirdest, scariest part of it is the fact that we have some of the most influential people in history getting together and worshiping a god that's associated with killing children. Um, so I mean, they say it's fake and that it's just fun and that it's a way for them to kind of get some things out of their system. Well, explain to me why they're having basically a cult ceremony going on way off into the middle of nowhere where no one can really see what is actually happening.
What's on your chest though that you got to sacrifice a child?
Exactly, and and everybody and coming these people, they like it's almost like they view themselves, for the lack of a better word, as the new world order, almost like they are the ones that are going to be roll this entire world into, because it's not just people from the United States, right? I mean, it's
No, it's worldwide.
yeah. I mean, and it makes you wonder if they are blackmailing each other. And I'm talking about, from what my understanding is these guys go there and they have gay sex with each other, and
Oh,
it's
okay.
and it's not it's not really it's not really because they're homosexual. It's more
Which
because,
there's nothing wrong with that.
no, there's nothing. I mean, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that, but a lot of these guys, they classify themselves as heterosexual figures, but it's more of a dominating, like, I'm it's a sign of domination over, I'm assuming, new members, or, and if you want to become a new member, you've got to be initiated. It's kind of like hazing. Um, and except to the new extreme, and then they hold that over your head until, well, the rest of your life. Because to me, once you join this, you're too far gone already. Like, there's really no redemption factor after you have kind of joined. Now, I mean, we've not really got into the whole Illuminati, um, skull and bones kind of thing, but to me, this is the same group of people that you would classify in the Illuminati and skull and bones. A lot of them are associated together, and they associate themselves as really the people that are running the world.
Right.
I think
Tristan, in
whenever
your
you
skull and bones research, um, did you come across? I came across this personally, but I know you were reading up on the skull and bones. There was also a similar sexual.
Yeah, so Tyler kind of just ran through. I gave like a basic overview of everything I kind of want to get in depth on. So I'll start off at the I don't know where to start off, honestly. All right, first I have this tab pulled up now, so I'm gonna talk about Moloch first. So yeah, they gather along with their partying and their business meetings and stuff like that. They also conduct rituals at Bohemian Grove. The burning of the owl, the burning of Moloch, or the worship of Moloch, burning of the child, whatever it is. Um, that's only one of them. There's a lot of supposed like satanic type rituals that they do there, but that is the most famous one. They pray to this giant 40-foot tall owl statue, which can represent Moloch. Moloch can also be represented as a bull,
Hmm.
um, which is where you get the term like brazen bull from and stuff like that.
And we just talked about
But
that in our last episode too.
but Moloch is known for devouring children, which if you listen to our Colson trafficking episode, you would know the connection that we made between Bohemian Grove and children. But that's not for this episode. But yeah, that's just one of the things they do there. They do these weird Satanist type uh, rituals. But as you were saying, Christian, yes, there's a connection in a lot of these secret type societies where if
There's
you're a
some
member,
sexual thing to get in.
if you're a member, they basically, the older members want to one have control over you. It's a
Hmm.
power type thing, exactly like in prison. In prison, you hear stories of men getting raped all the time, strictly because it's a power thing, you know.
Yep. Yep.
And these secret societies kind of do it as well, but in a different form, I guess. They basically, it is rape, but it's consensual
Right.
in a form. Like they tell you
They know
like,
that it's
hey,
going to happen when
you
they get
have
there.
to you have to like this and you have to enjoy this
Yeah.
and you have to have fun doing this.
Or you're not
That way
in.
we can take pictures of you having fun doing it.
Yeah.
Um, that way, like we said earlier, they have the blackmail upon somebody.
Hmm.
So that's the thing is in these groups, everyone's dirty.
Well,
Everyone's dirty, and everyone has something on someone else. So if you spill the beans on this guy, he can come back and tell your he can air out your dirty laundry too. He can find the skeleton in your closet as well. Um,
there's an actual quote from Richard Nixon, and I mean there's actual recorded audio of it, and I'm gonna read the quote here. He says, "The Bohemian Grove, which I attend from time to time, it is the most faggy goddamn thing you could ever imagine." And
yeah,
I mean,
he said that
you
on
know,
video. You can find a video of him saying that.
yeah, and I mean it's recorded, and the audio is really, I mean it's really hard to hear and understand, but that is what he says, and there are pictures of Nixon there, and I mean when you think of Richard Nixon, I mean you don't think of him as being a, you know, into that kind of stuff, but I'm sure he partaked because they all partake. I mean that's how you are initiated, and
Part
I
of the
mean
part of the deal.
it's part of the deal for sure. And I mean it's just it's a it's a weird kind of, you know, to I guess to be at that status in life that you would do anything for more power. It just kind of shows how sick and demented people get, well, men, because that's something we have not mentioned, is women cannot be a member of the Bohemian Club.
They
It
used to
Or
not
any
even
of
is
the
let women
societies we're
work
going to
there.
cover today.
no,
None of
and
this, all the societies that we're going to cover today, all the societies that I'm going to talk about,
are men.
secret groups I'm going to talk about, are men.
Yep.
100%.
Now
Well,
I
Skull and Crossbones, I think, has recently actually opened up their
Skull and
doors
Bones,
to women.
Skull and Bones.
Skull and
Skull and
Bones.
sorry,
Can't even
but I
But
think
pronounce
they've
it right.
recently opened up women to be allowed into them.
As long as they're okay with a bunch of old ex-presidents.
now, I
Well,
mean, I'm
You
are
know,
they
reading right
actually
here.
letting them all the way in though? Like they may let them
I
be a
think
part
so.
of the group or whatever, but are they letting them into
Well,
the secrecy? Because I mean, it is like Skull and Bones is a known society. So basically, these big fancy Ivy League schools like Yale, Princeton, Harvard, they have uh, at a normal school you have a frat, right? You have like
hmm
the Greek fraternities.
yep.
At these higher end schools, you have societies, and there's a bunch of them. Scroll and Key
hmm
and Wolf's Head
yep.
is just two more that are just at Yale alone. And Yale supposedly has over 15 of these secret societies, where it's basically just groups of students that come together and do these like, because fraternities do the same thing. They do all sorts of weird, goofy, gay
Right.
stuff, um, and just they always have some sort of strange rituals and stuff.
You know, and I think what a lot of this breaks down to is it's networking. You know, even in
Yeah,
at our level, we join professional groups to network. You know, you have your LinkedIn, you're joining professional groups on LinkedIn to network. That is a small scale version of what this was originally meant to be. Is a way for them to network.
well,
And then
just
it's
think of some of the Tyler. You kind of don't really have the experience of this, but I can say personally that infantry basic training for the army has a sort of cult aspect to it. At the end of our cycle, we go to a place called Honor Hill, and it's locked with gates, and you have to pass a thing called the Bayonet March to be allowed to go into Honor Hill. And you go in there and you drink a special drink called grog, and they light a giant bonfire, and they talk about the history of the infantry and all that stuff. And they walk around and hand you your cross rifles. There's a little bit of that at the end of the day, CJ. I can see your screen. Um, but at the end of the day, they give you your cross rifles, and when you go back to the bay that night, um, even separate platoons have their own thing. Like my platoon went around and gave each other their blood rifles, which is basically where we put our cross rifles on our chest and punched each other and basically pierced our cross rifles into our chest. and we wore them like that for like an hour that night. Like everybody just walked around bleeding all over the place from stabbing themselves, basically. It
Yeah,
was,
but
I mean, it's
you never worshipped a demon god, correct?
well, some of those dudes there probably did. Some of them were. We had a guy. We had a guy there that literally classified himself as something. I think I don't even remember what. But every Sunday, the drill sergeants had to take him off into the woods to let him cast spells, and
Oh, he was Wiccan.
and yeah, basically, yeah. He would like build a prayer circle with these little rocks and stuff like that. And,
Dang.
yep, cast
But
spells.
I mean, throughout history, you have lots of different groups that have, you know, a ritual that they perform. It's just something. It's initiation. It's something that they do, either yearly or they have certain times of the year that they perform things like that. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. Stuff like the military, that just, to me, what you described, just, I mean, it's a little weird, but it's just fun. I mean,
It's
it's
camaraderie, is what it
yeah,
is. It builds a
exactly. It's
relationship with the
celebration.
people
You
that.
all are, you just got out of basic training. You're you're men now. That's the way I view that. It's kind of a step from,
Now that
you
we're
went from a
men.
grunt to being a man. To me, though, these are what we're talking about with these higher up groups, the elite rulers of the world. To me, it's beyond fun now. It is gotten to a point where it's almost, it's sick, and they get a thrill off of knowing that they do have this power, and that
Hmm.
they do control so much. Now, what we know they control, I mean, we don't even know what all they control. And that's the part that scares me is, I mean, as many people that are there, I mean, it can be thousands of people,
Yeah,
can't
there's
it?
2,247 members.
Exactly. Think about that. That many people in one location, all worshiping a basically a demon god from the Bible. It makes you really wonder what the entire agenda is. Now, we try to stay pretty unbiased in our conversations. But Alex Jones, the Lord and Savior that he is,
All hail.
has actually
All hail the
infiltrated
great conspirator. The great
Bohemian Grove
conspirator.
before. And I've been currently trying to finish up his latest interview when he was on Rogan here a week ago, and I've been listening to it off and on for the last couple days trying to get it listened to. It's like 3.5 hours long, but um, he he has actually stepped foot in there and witnessed the ritual. He has witnessed the gay sex. He was actually hit on during there trying to get someone to initiate in gay sex with him. He
I can't
also
blame them.
especially after we've seen that picture of him on Facebook. Man, what a sexy dude, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But he also
They're
he
gonna think we're a gay cult now.
no he also
Cult, yes.
he
Gay, maybe.
Definitely.
oh, well, yeah. He actually, I mean, he's seen people like Danny Glover there, which
Mhm.
when you think Danny Glover, you think what? Like what would Danny Glover have to do there? Clint Eastwood goes. I don't know. I think we've mentioned Clint
Mhm.
Eastwood
Yeah, he's a
before.
member.
And I mean, it's just these people that we have idolized for years. Like I when I growing up, I loved the uh the Man with No Name trilogy, Clint Eastwood's films, his westerns. I loved them. I still think that they're great. They're great films. And we have seen Eastwood direct films like from Iwo Jima and Flags of Our Fathers.
Mhm.
That kind of stuff that are very, in my opinion, very well done tributes to our country and to the men that sacrificed their lives during World War II. Not only from our side, but also from the other side as well. Um, and but it just makes you wonder, like, is Clint Eastwood really for America, or is he really for something like a one world government where these elites, they rule it all, and we are the peons, and actually we're even lower than a peon. We're I feel like that they think that we are nothing, we are scum. And it really makes you, it really makes me, I don't know how it makes everybody else feel, it really makes me sick to my stomach to think that I have idolized people throughout the years that more than likely had their hand dipped into this association.
It is really funny that you mention one world governments because it is very, very, very frequently brought up when you talk about Bohemian Grove that Eisenhower actually held a lot of the meetings that laid the groundwork for the United Nations at the Bohemian Grove.
It would not surprise me one bit.
That is, um, he did not refute that he did hold meetings related to the United Nations founding at the Grove,
Now I'm
and
assuming
that's a one
probably
world government.
yeah, you exactly, and that's the thing right now, that especially with what's going on in the country right now at the election, and I'm not going to get political at all, but I just, it makes you wonder if we are not closing in extremely quickly on a, at least the foundation and the beginnings of a one world like government. Um, and especially with the way society is changing and how rapidly society is changing to the give me attitude. It just really makes you wonder, because when you have these elitists like we have, and then now we have our society leaning more towards the hard left of things, and the hard, I want to be given everything instead of stepping forward and taking initiative. It makes you, I mean, it makes me wonder if that's not what we're headed towards, is some sort of a one world like government. Which, if you're a Christian, and you are, um and that is your belief, then the end of times, that's where it ends, is the new world order, the one world government, which is eventually led by the Antichrist, and it's the end of the world.
Interesting. So it's kind of like Ragnarok.
Yeah, I mean, throughout history, there's lots of different views on the ending of the
I'm
world.
just teasing you.
I know that. But I mean, but really, I mean, no, you're right. It is a modern Ragnarok that, well, not modern, because I mean, I'm sure that there are still plenty of people that are Vikings that think that the Ragnarok's going to happen. And hey, it may be Ragnarok, who knows? But I mean, you
CJ
know,
knows.
I feel like that these clubs, and we've not touched on the Illuminati yet, but I feel like Skull and Bones, the Bohemian Club, I feel like they are the Illuminati. I don't feel like the Illuminati is necessarily one association. I think that it is a conglomeration of multiple associations that are the elite groups that are ruling the world, whether we want them to or not. And that's the thing. We will never, and these groups have been in power for generations. This is not just a new thing. These are people that have had been running and ruling things since the beginning. And I mean, they stay hidden, kind of. I mean, anymore they're not really even hidden. A lot of them are right there in plain sight, and they're open about things. They don't necessarily discuss what's going on, but I mean, if you think about it, they're not hiding anymore. They're here. And I go back to, and Jim Carrey is a, I appreciate what he's done for the film industry, and I think he's hilarious sometimes. There are other times, though, that he is, and especially over the last few years, he's kind of gone off the deep end and lost his mind. But here, it's probably been 7 years ago or so. He was on, I believe it was one of the talk shows.
Yeah, it was like Leno, or
It was
I
one
think it
of
was
them,
Leno.
and he comes out and he has his hand made into a triangle, and he keeps sticking his tongue out through that triangle, and basically I don't feel like he was mocking the Illuminati. I feel like he was literally coming out on stage and telling every single person watching that show that it's real, and I might be mocking them right now, but they're in control. That's kind of what I felt like. I felt like it was almost not necessarily a message, but him coming out and saying, "Listen, you guys are screwed." Is what the way I took it as. And it's very disturbing for him to just be coming out just out of the blue. That's he doesn't even get set down until, I mean, he's doing this as he's walking out. And for those that don't know, the Illuminati symbol is a triangle that has an eye in it. The all-seeing eye is what it's called. And it is, if you flip over the $1 bill, it is actually at the very top of the pyramid that is on the back of the $1 bill. In fact, it is the top portion of the pyramid. The all-seeing eye is the basically the symbol for the Illuminati. And I'm a little rusty on my Illuminati lore, but I mean, it is basically, the Illuminati is all these groups, in my opinion. I don't know.
Yeah.
You all
So
tell me what you think.
a lot of people, a lot of people think the Illuminati's not a real thing at all, and I don't know about like a modern day Illuminati, but the phrase, the title, whatever, Illuminati comes from the Bavarian Illuminati, which was a real thing, and it was an Enlightenment era secret society founded in 1776 in Bavaria.
Mhm.
If you don't know, 1776 is a pretty important date,
What?
pretty important
And
year
that
for
really is
America.
strange that it
Um,
was established in the
May
same
May
year.
1st, 1776. So
Yeah, that's really
2 months,
weird.
2 months before the United States was founded, pretty much.
That's really weird. I didn't know
And
that.
it came out of Bavaria, Germany area, which also, if you don't know, was a very uh, I wouldn't say they were the main enemy of England at the time, but they were a pretty significant um, rival.
They
So
did send us a lot of
Europe in
mercenaries.
1776 was very volatile. You had England, France, Prussia, Germany first kind of starting out, all kind of vying for control. But anyways, my conspiracy behind this is basically, so the Bavarian Illuminati, their goals was to um, oppose superstition, obscurantism, um, and religious influence over public life and the abuses of state power. Now, if you want to talk about the Illuminati nowadays, that's their definition, is state power. But so the Bavarian Illuminati started on May 1st, 1776. 2 months later, uh, the United States decides to
Established as an actual country.
declare independence
Yeah.
from England and basically start the Revolutionary War, which took up a majority of England's attention, um, and kind of took their eye away from the other side of the pond. Um, and to make the connection there, George Washington is a known Freemason,
Hmm.
as well as
Which,
most
again,
of the other founding fathers are known Freemasons, which is again a secret society. This one's a
Which is
little different.
actually, which I think the
Go
Freemasons
ahead.
have like currently they're getting a lot more flashy. I mean, it's everywhere
Oh
right
no,
now.
yeah, it's very like they're a secret
I literally
society.
drove. I don't even know where I was the other day, but I literally drove by a Freemason like headquarter building,
Well,
Yeah,
and
there's
you
one
see
in West
people.
Plains.
That
they
could be
have
where it is.
They have
Yeah.
Masonic lodges all over the place. They're a
There's one
secret
right over by the
society that
Civic
isn't
Center
very
in West
secret.
Plains.
I actually got courted
They're
one time to join the Freemasons.
Well, for those that don't know, I want somebody that kind of can someone explain what Freemasonry really is, because I'll be honest, I'm not up to date on.
working on it.
Okay.
Anyways, so they're a secret society that's not really secret. They have secret meetings and stuff like that, and you can only get in if you're a member, kind of things like that. But whereas Skull and Bones, Scroll and Key, Wolf's Head, places like that are more about um, high end, rich political power, stuff like that. Um, Freemasons are more kind of focused around blue collar type stuff.
Hmm.
Uh, so the degrees of Freemasonry retain to three grades of medieval craft guilds. So back in medieval times, blacksmiths, um, other types of like crafts and stuff like that. I can't really think of anything else right now. Um,
Cobbler,
yeah, basically
Thatcher,
old style crafts. Where today we have like normal
carpenters,
masons,
plumbers.
carpenters, electricians, plumbers. You have apprentice, journeyman, and master. Freemasonry follows along the same kind of route in their membership and their positions, basically. And they are more think of like a union. Freemasons are centered heavily around union organizations. So
Hmm.
any like if you have like at the ironworkers union, the electricians union, a lot of those dudes are Freemasons because they kind of coincide with the same thing. Freemasons
Well,
are all about protecting hardworking, like blue collar type people.
But now are they
so,
Go ahead, CJ.
associated? I mean, go ahead, CJ.
so the Freemasons are actually so what I've been just kind of reading about for a little minute now, and it says like the Freemasons is directly correlated to the New World Order.
Like all
Like
these
they're
other groups.
well, so the but this one like it literally states, whereas like all the other ones like the Bohemian Grove and stuff like that is just kind of a cult that
Affiliated.
they're doing some shady stuff, worshiping some stuff or whatever. This like the Freemasons are the conspiracy is that when the world ends, the Freemasons will usher in the New World Order, like create the group and the New World Order and everything.
Really?
I'm getting a lot of
Right.
feedback right now from somebody.
But
Um,
the
the history of the Freemasons comes from the Temple of Solomon, actually.
Hmm.
The word is that the builders of the Temple of Solomon were the first Freemasons. They started the group. So
well,
that's
and
just a little bit of.
the Illuminati is associated with the New World Order as well. So that's why it really makes me wonder if the Illuminati and that I'm not gonna lie, I have always felt like the Illuminati is a real thing, and you get labeled as a conspiracy theorist, blah 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 blah. There, to me, uh, any more a conspiracy theorist is somebody that is actually awoke to some of the real BS that's going on behind the scenes. And you know, I feel like it's just a label that has been given to people. And if you really sit down and you do research, or you it don't take long until you kind of start seeing what's really going on behind the scenes. And they want to cover it up and make it look like it's all innocent and that there's nothing really going on. But I think that the vast majority of people are starting to kind of realize, listen, there's some shady stuff going on. and it's it just makes you it just really makes you wonder what the full agenda it really is.
So, real quick, might as well go ahead since we're talking about Freemasons. Go ahead and share my experience with, being courted to get into Freemasonry. And I don't want to, I know a lot of people who are Freemasons, and I respect a lot of these people greatly. And I don't want to throw your organization under the bus, but just from my outlook of what I saw when I went to the luncheons and meetings I went to, and then when I was explained what was going to happen, this is just kind of a brief overview of that. I've actually 2 different times I've had somebody ask me if I wanted to apprentice. One time it was someone I greatly respected, and they just brought me to a couple luncheons and a couple things like that, a couple like informal things that you didn't have to be a member to go to.
Just meetings, kind of.
Meetings, yeah. I guess it'd be a little more informal than meetings. It's just like lunches and things like that, right?
Okay.
And we'd sit down, we'd talk, we'd chat. They'd pray before the start of every meeting.
Now, are we talking about like praying to God? Like, that's
Okay,
my
well,
question.
I'll get there in a second.
Okay.
They pray to something. Okay. Now, what I was told. Now, I do not think this is wrong. I was told this by both people who tried to get me to join the Freemasonry. You have to believe in some form of monotheism, as in one God.
Okay.
So you'd have to be Christian, Islam, Judaism. You could not be Hindu or something like that. That was more polytheistic.
So what I just read was that you just have to believe in a higher being,
Right.
which I mean
But a singular
which
being.
no,
Yeah.
no. From what I read was that it was I mean to include paganism and Satanism and everything of that sort too.
Well,
That you just had to
I mean that might be the
believe
case,
in.
but you're not getting in if it's not a.
Yeah.
I mean that might be their quote unquote slogan that they have. You just have to believe in something, but. I mean, both times I was very strictly told that you would have to be essentially of the Abrahamic faith to get in. So, whether that's Judaism or Islam or Christianity. And that might have just been those lodges, too, that those lodges weren't going to take anybody in, because those lodges kind of operate like small little state governments, or little local governments. They can kind of set their own precedents as well. But, I mean, it didn't seem like an overtly evil thing or anything like that. It was just...
There's no sacrifices or
Yeah, I
anything
mean, we
like
didn't kill anybody at lunch. There was nothing like that happening. But the one thing that stopped me, I will tell you, I almost did it, but the one thing that stopped me is there's a ritual that you have to go through. Much like Skull and Bones and all of these areas that I was not willing to do at the time. Now, rituals aren't that big a deal to me. I probably would have done it nowadays. But
Are we talking about... what are we talking about here?
So...
domination type rituals?
Don't sacrifice? Not
No.
a question anymore.
Okay, so here's how it was explained to me. You wear a tunic, a white tunic, that just covers like one side of you, so essentially like an old Greek style tunic. I don't know.
So like a toga?
Toga, yes, that's what I'm looking for. Like a toga. You're like a toga, and then somebody has a sword, and you expose your breast, and they cut you across the breast.
So to leave a scar, basically?
Exactly. Like some kind of proof that you're there.
That bad.
Yeah, I mean, but like back then, I was like 20 years old. I was like, you know what? I don't know. That sounds a little weird.
All I've ever done is missionary. What do you mean?
Exactly. Now I'd be like, you know what?
Slash me across the chest. I don't care.
I'm fine with that. That's okay.
Punch me in the face.
Yeah.
Sit on my feet.
The bloodier, the better.
Exactly. So it wasn't like just this overtly crazy thing, but there was still something there. There was still something that you were going to have to be willing to give them to be part, right?
Now, did they keep your blood? I mean,
No,
was
I
this
don't
something?
think so.
I mean, was that something that?
I mean, I didn't get that far, but
Okay, because I mean, just that. I mean, it's really scary, kind of. Because what
Yeah,
happens
I
if
mean, I
they
don't want
cut
some
you
guy
too
cutting my
deep?
nipple off. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah,
what if he cuts my nipple off?
yeah. Like, what if he like takes that sword and he cuts you all the way down, and guts you by accident,
Yeah, or maybe like you ate his helping at the last,
and he's pissed
and
and
he's
he
mad,
wants, yeah,
and
exactly.
now he's gonna cut your nipple off,
Yeah.
right? I
Well,
mean,
I
I don't
mean,
want that to happen to me.
and it just, and there's probably Freemason uh uh buildings and are they all over the world, or are they just United
Yeah, I mean,
States?
I believe they're a worldwide organization.
Well, they were so
Worldwide?
they were. It was originally within like the England, right?
Hmm.
It's
Yeah, I mean, they trace like Tristan was saying earlier. They trace their roots all the way back to the guys who built King Solomon's temple
Oh yeah,
in Judea.
Freemasonry is a worldwide um, topic. So I'll kind of jump into it a little bit here. So Freemasonry is, yeah, it's tied to New World Order, world government type stuff. But the weird thing about that is it seems to be very centered in like its political ideologies and stuff like that. Whereas Freemasonry actually is very hated among like far right and far left wing groups.
So you're saying
The
the
Nazis,
libertarians?
yeah, well, yeah, the Nazis hated Freemasons. Um,
Hmm.
Saddam Hussein, when he changed the Iraqi legal and penal code in 1980,
Yeah.
he made it a felony to practice Freemasonry.
Huh.
Uh, it's very very um, anti-Masonry is more associated with anti-Semitist. You guys know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Semitics.
Anti-Semitic. Yeah,
Anti-Semitics, yes.
yeah. And so anti-Masonry is related with anti-Semitic and anti-Zionist groups.
Hmm.
Uh, so I
Well,
just found that weird that
I,
like
I,
even though they're a secret society that's all like supposedly I'm not gonna because like Christian said I do know some Freemasons and they're like good dudes. So I don't.
it, it just makes you,
Yeah.
it makes you wonder though, like, can you be associated with more than one of these societies?
Oh,
Like,
I'm sure.
can you be a member of all of them? And
I
it also
mean,
makes you wonder if there isn't just one person that is behind the scenes running all of them together. You know what I
probably
mean?
H.W. Bush, if I had to guess.
I mean, could
I
be.
mean, George Bush is in Skull and Bones. He's in the Bohemian Grove, and he's also a Mason.
George W. is?
Yes, George W. So if George W. is, I'd bet my left testicle that George H. is.
Well, I mean, probably.
And George H. was, long before he was president, he was the most powerful man in the country before that when he was the director of the CIA. Back when the CIA was running drugs all throughout South America and Southeast Asia.
Ooh, calling them out.
I mean, we all know that's what happened, right? I mean, that's
Future episode, don't you worry.
yeah.
Um,
We'll talk about narcotics. Don't worry.
Yeah.
so even on top of that, George W. and H.W. Think of the companies that they own. What's the oil company that they created? It starts with an H, I believe, or that they're big members of.
Here,
Um,
I'll get that information for you. Hold on a second.
Arbusto Energy was founded by George W. in '77, and HRG Group is what it's called today.
HRG.
Yep, Harbinger Group and Zapata Corporation.
Which, and
isn't
if we
that the one that I
remember
was thinking of
during,
that isn't either one of those? But anyways, the thing that I'm getting at here is oil kind of ties in with a lot of this. I mean, that's where the world gets its power from. In and I don't mean power as in like political power, but like it's literally where we get our energy. It's how we turn on our lights, and that's how we fuel our um, way of life today. So people who own those companies and people that have the deciding factors on those companies are the ones with the real power. I mean,
Well, yeah, I mean for sure. And think about the
didn't
people from like
Rockefeller got rich from like
Saudi
steel, didn't
Arabia.
he?
Steel, yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
stop everything. Stop the presses. Stop it all.
What's up?
I just stumbled across something that is definitely going to be a future episode within the Bush oil thing here. Okay, Osama bin Laden's older brother, was one of the lead investors in Arbusto Energy, the one that George W. founded in '77.
Well, that's what I was going to say a second ago. I remember back when George W. was in office, and I mean I was a kid then, but I remember he was criticized often for having ties in with the the oil industry. I mean, I strictly remember people because that when gas prices were going up and that kind of and that all started to happen. Like a lot of people, and then even the war on terror, a lot of people thought that it was, because everything that was going on over in the Middle East, a lot of people were thinking that, you know, but yeah, I mean, he has been criticized before for having the dealings in, so that honestly does not surprise me at all what you just
Yeah.
said.
So okay, just to touch on this a little bit more. But yeah, we can definitely get into this in kind of a future episode. The Bin Ladens, Osama and his family, are very big oil sheiks in
Hmm.
the Middle East.
Well, and
They own some of the largest oil fields in the Middle East. Before 9/11 happened, uh, this kind of gets into conspiracies that I don't really like. I don't like talking about 9/11 conspiracies a whole lot personally,
Yeah,
but
me either. I have my personal feelings there
um,
too.
just to kind of touch on it a little bit, to not get too deep. Before 9/11, there was a lot of meetings between, I can't remember if it was HW or W, but
H, I
one of
believe.
them,
H.
I believe, I think so, had business meetings with Bin Laden.
Mhm.
So, that guy you said, Salam,
Salam
is
bin
that his name?
Laden.
Yes,
Salam.
Salam Bin Laden, Osama's brother.
Yeah.
And there's what's the claims that Salam left the meeting angry, and that one of the things HW said to him was, "If you don't make this deal, we're going to come for your brother."
that makes sense why he
Because
was the one that was framed for
Osama was
9/11.
already known at Osama was already known at that time for being a Islamic radical and causing a lot of problems in the Middle East. He's been doing it for years and years and years. Um, all through the 90s, he was doing some pretty wild stuff over there.
So,
So that's kind of one of the 9/11 conspiracies is that
I've never heard that one before.
Salam left that meeting angry, didn't do what the Bushes wanted him to do. Um, because of that,
So we're
we
gonna set your
blamed
brother up for
9/11
yeah.
on Osama and went after him.
okay, yes, and
That's crazy.
Salam died in an airplane crash in Texas.
That's when. What did you have a date?
88.
88.
So right before the first World Trade Center attack.
Which was in what, 89?
Something like that.
I
I
can't
mean,
remember.
that okay,
That's when they
this
put the bombs in the bottom right and
yeah,
tried to blow it up from
we'll
the.
table this for a future episode.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm gonna note this down. We'll come back around to it in a future episode. Back to the Colts. We've got
yeah.
off on
We've
this.
tracked we, down the rabbit hole too far. No, but I mean, with all these groups, like I've said multiple times now, they are, in my opinion, they are all connected, and they all do some really shady shit behind the scenes. They, in my opinion, are the elites that are running the world, and that their main goal is to have a one world society. And I mean, to me, and I'm not saying that COVID is a conspiracy, because I have had COVID, and I have and Christian, you've had COVID too. I
Hmm.
mean, it's not
Thanks
fun.
for calling me out there,
I'm
turd.
calling you out. I'm not gonna go. I'm not gonna be the only one. It's not fun to have, but I do feel like it is something that is being used worldwide, not just in the United States, but is being used worldwide as a way to have some sort of control over the population, in terms of, you have to follow these guidelines, you have to do this. And to me, they are conditioning our minds to almost be ready to be sheep in a one world government. That's where I'm going with all this. And are we close? Who knows? I've There's been people that have thought we were close back in World War II, that we were getting close to this kind of stuff. That's been going on 80 years now. But I mean, it's just, to me, everything that is continuing to happen, it's making me almost feel like we are getting close to some sort of a finalized, established one world order being ran by these groups that are sacrificing fake children at a bonfire and having gay sex with each other.
There's that. There is that.
There is that.
There is that.
So anyway, I mean, who knows though? I mean, who knows? Who knows? Like, I mean, if you're Christian again, I mean, you uh, most Christians believe that there is going to be an antichrist, and if there is an antichrist, then more than likely he is a member of all of these groups. That's why I asked earlier if there you can be a
Was
member of more
one
than
person
one,
that was in multiple
or
of them?
one exactly. And the antichrist is a reflection of Jesus, and he is going to be, well, the fake Christ, and he is going to, so he's going to be a young person, 30s. He's going to be, but it's, in my opinion, being involved with these associations like that would be the perfect way to get a foothold and start really running things in the background until he does come out front. If you believe in that sort of thing.
So
I,
hard
I
though
mean,
because literally there's there's at least 15 people that have been labeled the Antichrist. Like this is it. He's the
well, to
Antichrist.
me, I mean,
Sigurds the Antichrist. Here we go.
Barack Obama was the last one that I really know of that people thought, oh my God. And I don't think people necessarily thought Barack was the Antichrist, but maybe the beginning of the
The
Antichrist.
harbinger.
Yeah, and that's Harbinger. And
Whatever.
the to me, he may have still been. I mean, who knows? Who knows? I mean, we've talked before. If we all don't necessarily believe on the same wavelengths as a lot of other people believe, but I mean, if the Bible is telling the truth, then we are getting close to, in my opinion, the end.
But I feel
So
like every 5 years we are
We're getting closer
close.
to the
Like
end.
this is it. This is the year, and like
all the
every
time,
literally
exactly. That's what I was saying back, even, I mean, World War II, World War One. We've always had instances of the end of times is coming. And once 2012 hit and we made it past 2112 or 12, whatever it was, we you know it kind of opened a new door to which, a lot of people think the world actually did
Exactly.
end.
Like
And
you just said it. It's already ended. We didn't make it past 2012.
yeah.
We did cover
Simulation
that. We've covered
hypothesis.
this.
I've talked
Yeah.
about this before. I don't know why you guys don't listen to me.
yeah.
Well,
This
I
is
wasn't. I missed
2010
that
or
one.
was it 2012 version 8?
Yeah, we're in repetition cycle now.
And it's only going to get worse, in my opinion. And these are the groups that are making it worse, and they get off from making it worse because it benefits them in the long run. And there's really nothing, like, this is really sad and scary to say, but there's really nothing that us as individuals can do, because I mean, it they will always be in control. always, which is really scary to think about.
It is. I definitely agree. We are getting dangerously close to our time limit for this week's episode. Tristan, you kind of started us off. Do you have anything that you would like to, cult-wise, like to close us out with?
Um, I didn't really make my final connection earlier between
Make it.
the whole Freemason and Bavarian Illuminati thing.
Okay, go for it.
But yeah, so like I said, Bavarian Illuminati started in 1776, May 1st, 1776. 2 months later, the United States declares independence from England. George Bush and a lot of the founding fathers were known Freemasons.
George Bush.
So George Washington, sorry. And a lot of the founding fathers were known
Another
Freemasons.
George Washington
So
is George Bush. George Washington Bush.
You need to
time
stop.
traveler. Anyways,
Oh, time traveling. We'll get on that one, won't
but
we?
yeah,
Anyway, go ahead.
we already did. You missed it.
Dang.
Anyways, connection there. That the Illuminati, because they're known for that kind of thing, right? Inciting rebellion and controlling governments and stuff like that. That's kind of what they do. So that's just the connection I make there. Is that they maybe the Illuminati started the United States, you know?
Right. I'm very well
anyways,
possible.
Which really
Yeah,
would
I
make
kind of
sense.
rambled a little bit there. But
No, I mean that's a great connection to make. I think that's really kind of what a lot of people are scared of, right? That maybe we've already progressed past the point of no return with that.
Well,
yeah,
we,
the fact that
we
they
are
do control
well
everything. That's the
we're well
idea
past the
behind it
point
all.
of no return.
You know, and
And
oh, go ahead.
go ahead.
No, you
Oh,
go.
so okay, I'm going. When you see the members of these groups, that's who they are, is the people that control the things. And they're not just like they're not just powerful rich people. They're people that actually do control big things like that, like
Right.
secretaries of treasuries and people that control like world currency. And they're really powerful people that not only have the money and the influence, but actually have the knowledge of the way these systems work, is what I'm getting at.
Right.
But
Yeah. I mean, and we kind of come back to a lot of the same things with a lot of these episodes, especially when we're talking governmental bodies or ruling powers that be. You know, even back into the Nazis episode with the Nazis escaping the rat lines, that these are heavily intertwined with each other. It's nearly impossible that there is not some behind the scenes shadow government things going on, just because of how all this has operated and how all these people have filled all these separate roles and throughout all these different governments. I mean, like, I'm telling you, Werner von Braun is there's something completely else going on there. That he's literally came up in 4 episodes now, whether it's cults and trafficking, whether it's Nazis escaping via the rat lines, whether it's his work with rocket propulsion when we're talking space travel and stuff. Something going on with that guy.
And now secret societies.
So, I don't know. To me, it seems like a little bit more than just a conspiracy.
Oh, well,
the
speaking
secret societies are kind of at war with each other. Maybe so we said that Freemasonry is kind of like against anti-Semitic groups and stuff like that. So maybe the Illuminati and these Bohemian Grove dudes, maybe the Illuminati are the good guys, and they're actually trying to work towards a sort of utopia where everything's nice and good.
Now
Maybe
that's a
Bohemian
conspiracy
Grove is
I've
going.
not heard before.
maybe these Skull and Bones and Bohemian Grove dudes are evil Satanists, baby killers, and I don't know.
I don't
Yeah.
either. But
I mean, like we said, it might be conspiracy. It might be something more than that.
Speaking of conspiracy, this podcast is sponsored by Threadweird. If you're listening to this podcast, then it's safe to assume you're interested in aliens, Bigfoot, conspiracies, and space, maybe even secret cult societies. If you're interested in expressing those interests, go buy some clothes. That's www.threadweird.com. It's THREADWEIRD.com. And use the promo code Rabbit Hole for 10% off at checkout.
And I've already ordered from them 2 shirts and a clock that has an alien on it that says it's time for butt stuff on it.
well,
I
I mean,
I'm telling you, they'll be right up your alley if you've made it this far into this podcast.
Yeah.
They have
I'm-
a mug of an astronaut flipping the bird, so if that just needs to
Sweet.
tell you anything.
Gonna have to get that one.
boys, we're closing in on 10K as well. So
Yes,
we're gonna have
actually,
to
we're over 10,000 followers.
followers.
Our likes were within 100.
Yeah. So
So
anyway, it's getting real. But hey, I think we've touched some really interesting points tonight, and I mean, we can always. This is our second time bringing up
You need to
Bohemian
not
Grove.
talk about touching stuff with the the things that we're talking about here.
All right. Well, anybody have anything else?
anything else?
Nah,
I
I'm
don't
good.
have
I'm
anything
good.
else.
All right.
All
Then
right,
later,
gentlemen.
peeps.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everybody.